Attention Christmas shopping procrastinators, head on over to deaditesundeck.com for the most unique horror and custom t-shirts, mouse pads, blended teas, candles, tote bags, and much more. And starting now until December 14th, save 10% off of your entire order with the promo code Merry Christmas.
Hey, gang, and I'm going to be adding Candice on here in just a couple of minutes. Also, a word of warning: me and Steve haven't been feeling too good, and we didn't feel like navigating these stores, and that includes Walmart because Walmart is crazy. It's crazy anytime here in Louisville, but it's especially crazy around the Christmas shopping season. So, I went on and ordered all my cookie and candy making stuff to be delivered tonight. So it may be delivered while me and Candice are doing Friday Foolish. It may be a little bit afterwards, but I'm sure that Candice can keep y'all entertained if I have to step away and get some things in. So I had my Santa hat on. I'm feeling very festive today. I am eating my soup. So if y'all see me, taking the spoon up to my mouth a few times during the stream, hopefully you will not mind, because I'm always a day late and a dollar short, and I'm always running behind on things. And me being diabetic, I shouldn't have done this, but it felt like a million things to do this morning, and it's probably a good thing I took off from work today, because I was just running from one thing to the other. I threw laundry in the wash, and I was, paying some bills and getting some last minute Christmas gifts ordered, and doing this, that, and the other. And I did not take time to eat all day. And Steve was home about 2:00 this afternoon. And I said, I haven't ate anything but maybe a couple of these mini chocolate donuts all day. He said, well, you better eat something then, So he ended up getting us something. We got stuff delivered from Chili's, so we were good to go. But you know me, I'm always running behind on stuff. So and today was no different. So hopefully I'll be able to get a head start on cookies and candy making tomorrow if I get all this stuff in. The only thing that was missing was my Red Hots. Walmart did not have any Red Hots to speak of. And I'm sure y'all know what Red Hots candy is. So anyway, or I hope you do. If you don't, Red Hots have been around for a long time. They've been around since before I was a kid, I'm sure. So, but anyway, Candice and I got a couple of surprises, but I'm going to wait until I get her on here so we can announce those together. I want to remind everybody that Saturday and Sunday, I got a special Christmas present for you supporters and watchers of the channel. I'm going to have a Christmas horror watch along this weekend. 2 movies. Saturday's movie will be the original, in my opinion, 1974 Bob Clark classic, Black Christmas. and that will be starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. Sunday's watch along will be for Don't Open Till Christmas. The very confusing because it had 4 different directors. Don't Open Till Christmas, but it's still entertaining. So I hope you'll tune in to watch along with me for Don't Open Till Christmas, which will be Sunday, December 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to announce this ahead of time. I've already got the advertising and promotion up for it. But on Saturday, December 28th, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, me and Steve will actually be on here doing a full-fledged watch-along together live on Dead Ice on Deck for Roadhouse. Not that Jake Gyllenhaal thing. I don't even want to talk about that. But the original Patrick Swayze, ooh la la, Patrick Swayze. You can't get enough Patrick Swayze. Steve won't watch Dirty Dancing, which I also like, but Roadhouse he'll watch. A lot of guys won't watch Dirty Dancing, but they'll watch Roadhouse. Candice doesn't like Dirty Dancing, evidently. So she's mouthing, I don't like it. I grew up with Dirty Dancing. When I used to go to, Candace says she did too. I would go over to I went to a sleepover at my best friend's house when I was a kid. And that's how I got introduced to Dirty Dancing. The girls are like, we want to watch Dirty Dancing. And to tell you the honest truth, I didn't know what the big deal was then. I was like, yeah, it's got Patrick Swayze. Okay, big deal. I don't know. Why are we watching this? That was my take. But then over the years, I changed my mind and I was like, ooh wee, I like Patrick Swayze. I like watching him in this. And I like the movie as a whole. I like the interaction between him and Jennifer Grey in it and all that. But if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not, I think with some people, some of these movies like Dirty Dancing and even Footloose. Footloose I love too. But they're acquired taste. Candace is shaking her head on Footloose. Which is perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Footloose was one that had to grow on me too. And I don't like that remake of Footloose either. The remake of Roadhouse and the remake of Footloose, I don't like either one of them. So, but if you do, yeah, that's your prerogative. I don't think I got anything else to ramble on about. So I'm going to go ahead and add Candice on here. Hey, Candice.
Hey.
I was talking about 2 of your favorite movies. One.
I grew up with both of those movies. My mom liked both Footloose and Dirty Dancing, but my aunt, me and her have a just a friendly distaste of she hates Beetlejuice because I made her watch it.
Oh wow, yeah.
Because I literally watched it every day, several times a day, and then I hate Dirty Dancing because she made me watch Dirty Dancing all the time. And it's not a terrible movie. It's just not. I watched it so many times. It was forced upon me. I didn't like it.
Right,
That's
yeah,
she don't like Beetlejuice.
that's a whole different thing. If something's forced on you, you're not gonna like it. And when I went to the sleepover or slumber party or whatever you want to call it at my best friend's house when I was a kid, I wasn't forced to watch it. I was just like, I don't know what the big deal is. They were like, oh, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, like my mom and my aunt, they both love Patrick Swayze. Me, I never liked him in that kind of way. I've never really been a huge Patrick Swayze fan, but I do like Tu Wong Fu.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen that, with
that one I haven't seen. I need to see that one.
Yeah, I love that one.
But Steve will not, he's not gonna watch Footloose. He's not gonna watch Dirty Dancing. He's not gonna watch Ghost.
They like that one too. That's one I had to grow up watching as well.
Yeah.
And Roadhouse. They love my mom and dad always loved Roadhouse.
Steve absolutely loves Roadhouse. Yeah. That was something that we did a commentary.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm hearing myself echo. I don't know if it's me.
Uh-oh. Don't tell me it's do that again. Let me, what happened last time? What did we have to do last time to make that stop?
I think we had to turn something off. Let me see. Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can hear myself now. I don't. Well, I hear myself a little bit. Shoot. Daggone.
What about now?
Okay, let me talk and see here. I'm not hearing it now.
I turned my volume down a little bit.
Okay. Now,
maybe you were coming in my microphone here.
Possibly. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't anything on my side. I'm going to check my mic settings too while I'm at it.
It's been doing that the past couple times that we are, been on here.
I don't know. It could be StreamYard for all I know. It's like these crazy things with StreamYard. But what was I saying? Roadhouse was a movie that when me and Steve first started dating, he wanted to do a commentary. We called them back then. Now we call them watch-alongs, but they're interchangeable. It's the same thing. And so we each had had an adult beverage, and we were, having a good time, and it was. Candice knows how this is, and anybody that's been in a new relationship knows when things are just bright and new and stuff like that, and you just can't get enough of the person you're with. It's just fun. It's before you move in together and you get married, and now there's all these adult responsibilities. You don't tend to think about that whenever it's fresh and new, but the reality sets in. It doesn't mean that you love your significant other any less. It's just that there's other things to think about besides just having fun. You got to pay the bills, and the mortgage has got to be paid, the dog's got to be fed, the kids,
a lot more responsibility.
Yeah. Water bill, electric bill, all that stuff's got to be paid. It's just, you got to balance your fun and responsibility after that.
Let's not talk about electric bills, because mine is
I know. Poor Candice.
This month.
Candice
almost doubled.
Chris.
It's crazy.
I don't know. I don't understand some of these bill things. But anyways, so me and Steve had a lot of fun doing that. And, we didn't get drunk, but we got buzzed. I ain't gonna lie. We got buzzed and we're having a heck of a good time, but we weren't driving anywhere.
Yeah.
Steve wasn't driving anywhere. We were staying home at his house. And so that movie holds a special place in my heart because of that. And Steve loved it so much that when it came out, he was still in the Army. And I think it's probably right before he got out of the Army. And he actually went to see it twice because he was very unhappy when he was in the Army.
Yeah.
And so going to see movies was an outlet for him.
Yeah.
And so he saw that movie. He's like, I love this movie. So he had to go see it again. But anyway, enough about Roadhouse. We're going to do that.
One thing I did want to say, it kind of fits into what we're talking about musicians and bands. Jeff Haley, from the Angel Eyes fame, he's in Roadhouse.
Yes, he is. So, and Steve actually got a whole album recently of I may be pronouncing. I always called him Jeff Healy, but
it might be Jeff Healy. I've always called him.
I don't know.
It probably is. I'm not real versed in. I mean, I know that Angel Eyes song, and I know that he's in that, but I don't know much more about him. Jeff Healy Band. That might be what it's called, Dana. I probably said Haley.
That's okay. I
don't. People know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. So yes, him and his band are very prominent in Roadhouse, and he was in fact really blind. He wasn't just acting, and I think in the last few years he unfortunately passed away.
He's been passed away for a while now. Yeah.
And that was a bummer because I loved his music.
The
Oh,
only
I
song I
absolutely.
know is that Angel Eyes, unless he sings something that I'm not familiar with. Let him singing it.
Well, in Roadhouse, he did, some songs that weren't his.
Yeah.
He did covers of them. But um, I think Roadhouse Blues was one, and I don't think,
The
I
Doors.
don't,
Is it the
yeah,
Doors cover?
I think it might be. I'm not 100% sure on that, Candace,
I've
but
not watched it in so long I couldn't tell you.
mhm. But Steve got an album that had kind of like the lost music of Roadhouse, and it
Oh,
had a ton of Jeff Healey stuff in it, and it was really cool. We listened to part of it one day while Steve was doing some stuff. But yeah, Candace is right. It does tie in with the music theme that we're going to talk about, because there's a whole heck of a lot of music in Roadhouse. Um, but we're going to get to that here in just a second. But the announcement that me and Candace want to make is that we're really going to hit the ground running with Waiting on Woodstock,
we are. Yeah.
because we've been talking about this for months. But between me doing stuff and Candace having all her schoolwork and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's been very stressful.
Very, very.
And we just haven't had the time to put into it. But now, hopefully, we're going to have the time to put into it. So be on the lookout for some stuff coming up for Waiting on Woodstock.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're really excited. Me and Candace have been discussing some things back
Yeah.
and forth about what we want to do,
And
what
this
we kick off.
Friday Foolish kind of ties into things that we're going to be talking about, music, a lot of music stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You like the 60s, 70s, out that, like, you don't even have to like the hippie culture. Just if you like that time period,
Right.
you like music, you like the Beatles. I know that's something that we're going to be covering a lot of. And people that's like that, you'll like it. TV shows, probably even. I mean, a little bit of everything. I mean, it's not like one like straight thing. It's just whole culture.
Fashion,
Hmm.
yeah, fashion, culture, the music, books,
Anything, yeah.
whatever, that fits into that
Even crime. A
crime.
little bit, it's not going to
True
go
crime
deep
stuff.
into it, but we will discuss things because, a lot of things happened during that time period, and we're interested in that thing.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
there were
Yeah.
there was Ted Bundy, there was Son of Sam, there was
Manson.
Manson,
Yeah.
Jim Jones. There,
Mhm.
there was all kinds of stuff like that, and a lot of people have a morbid curiosity for that stuff. I do, you know. So yeah, we're gonna definitely touch on those things as well. Um, but in addition to putting content on the Waiting on Woodstock channel, I have created a Discord, and me and Candace are both moderators on it.
Yeah.
And there is a link in the chat.
Join us.
Yeah, it's free to join. We've already got a bunch of channels on there. If y'all come up with channels you would like to see, or forums, or whatever you want to call it, I've got an introduction channel, and I've got
Yeah.
a music one, or one on the Beatles, and you can talk about the Beatles. You can talk about their solo work
Yeah.
after the Beatles went their separate ways. There's one just as a catch-all,
Yeah.
that culture and fashion and all kinds of stuff. Y'all can talk about basically anything related
Mhm.
to those topics. Now, a little caveat, and I don't think I told Candace this, but just to be on the safe side, I'm not saying that people are going to come in there and be rebel rousers that try to get it and try to be nasty to people.
Yeah.
But you will have to agree to the rules of the Discord before you're allowed in there to chat. And it's going to be zero tolerance, people. If you accept those rules, and I'm not trying to be mean here, I'm just trying to,
We just don't have time for that.
yeah, nobody has
No.
We want this to be a peaceful place where people can come and relax and talk about things. We don't want it to become a place where people are going to be harassed or bullied or made fun of because of their
Yeah.
musical choices or their fashion choices, how their hair is, whatever. We want people.
No, we're not saying you can't have your opinions.
Right. You can
You
have
know,
opinions all you want.
just be
Uh,
kind.
yes. And that's one of the rules, be kind, don't harass, don't bully, no spam. You can put things in there like if you have let's say you have a YouTube channel and you want to
Mhm.
promote it, that's
For a shop or something. Yeah.
or a shop. I don't want people to think that they can't do that. But don't be spamming. Don't put I've got this new weight loss formula and it's somebody dropped 100 pounds in
You
60.
save 50% on your car insurance.
That's the kind of spam I'm talking about. But if you want to share your shop, you want to share your YouTube channel,
Mhm.
um, and something else I would like to ask just to people that are in here now or that watch this on the replay, if you're considering joining, I don't have this in the rules, but I would prefer, and I'm sure Candace would prefer too, that people not talk overly vulgar and don't talk about sexual stuff because that there's no place for that in waiting on Woodstock. I'm sure there are discords where that's the place to be if you want to do that
Yeah.
stuff. But I'm not saying you can't say damn shit or something that hell every once in a while, but not a lot of f bombs and talking about sexual activity. Because why would we talk about that in waiting on Woodstock? There's really no reason to do that. So, like I said, the big things, the harassment, the bullying,
Yeah.
excessive spam, stuff like that, it's zero tolerance. You will get banned. There's no 3 strikes and you're out, no warnings. If you agree to those rules and then you proceed to do those things, I'm sorry, but we just can't have that in there. So I just wanted to bring that up. Hey, Tom. Tom says there's a new documentary. It it's talking about Ted Bundy's first victim was in 1964. He
Mm.
was 12 years old. Yeah, I had heard that. Um, or okay, it was 1961. Where's this new documentary at, Tom? Do you know? Is it on Netflix or Hulu or?
I believe it was Ted Bundy, Dana, that I can't remember. I was watching something on I think it was a documentary on Ted Bundy. I believe it was Ted Bundy. When he was young, he maybe was in the Boy Scouts. I can't remember. He was in something. I think this was him. And he would make these big trenches and hide them for people to fall in or something like that. I think that
Oh
was
my
Ted
God.
Bundy.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. I'll have to look into
Because
that.
I had never heard that before either. And I was like, what in the world?
But I had heard that he was accused of killing a young girl when he
Yeah.
was a kid.
No, he was the one that the family, because usually these serial killers come from dysfunctional families. And
Mhm.
wasn't he the one that came from a pretty normal family and
Well,
didn't really?
here's the thing
It
about
was
him.
one of them.
He grew up thinking his mother was his sister.
Was he the one that was like that?
Yeah, because his mother got pregnant out of wedlock, and it was during that time period where that was shameful to do. And so her parents agreed that they would say that Ted was their son and that the woman that was really his mother was his sister, and they raised him that way. And he did not find out that the woman that he thought was his sister all these years was actually his mother. He did not know that till he was probably a teenager or an
It
adult.
was an actor that was done. Who was that? Wasn't Jack Nicholson, I don't think. It was somebody. Some actor was like that. They thought their sister or their mother was their actual grandmother, and their who they thought was their sister were their actual mother. I forget who
Mhm.
that was. It was
That was
somebody
like
big.
that. That wasn't like shoot. It wasn't Peter Fonda or somebody like that.
No,
Was
no.
it?
It was I forget who that was, Dane. I could look it up.
Coco says it's Jack Nicholson.
It might have been Jack Nicholson. That's who I thought it was. It might have been Jack Nicholson.
Hey, Coco, by the way. Um, so I'm just trying to finish up my soup here, and I'm going to check my phone periodically just to make sure that it's not telling me that.
Well, I also wanted to add, Dana, that Dana's going to be kind of the main person over the Discord because I don't know anything about Discord. I'm kind of slowly
I
moving
kind of
myself in it.
threw Candice in there and made her a moderator.
But I will be there and I will be helping Dana with and stuff. But also look out for other social media dealing with waiting on Woodstock. I'm going to kind of be over like, which me and Dana both will, but like uh is it Instagram that I've already made? I've not put it out there yet, but be looking out for links and stuff for that kind of stuff too if you want to follow us on other social media. I don't think we've done anything as far as Facebook yet, but that could be something in the future that we do.
Yeah.
um
And I kind of leave the Instagram stuff to Candace because I'm not well versed in Instagram, just like she's not well versed in Discord.
I will tell you this though, the programming for Waiting on Woodstock is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to from whenever it comes to me and Dana, and
Yeah.
it's going to be fun. We have a lot of ideas. It's just putting it down to paper, and we got some like I don't know. Are we going to do a watch along of the Beatles documentary, or are we going to
Well, we
just?
could. I know we hadn't discussed that specifically, but I would be up for that.
We're going to have a lot of fun things. So, if you like that kind of thing, make sure that you join us because we want interaction. We want people to come and say, "Hey, this is something that's neat." So
I would
yeah.
like to do a watch along also for John Lennon's Imagine
Oh
because
yeah, or anything like that. I'm up for anything like that.
Mhm.
And if you like the Doors, I know the Doors is something that me and Dana mutually like, and stuff like that. It's gonna be fun. I think
We could
I'm
even do
excited.
we could do a watch along for the Doors movie.
We could, yeah. Oh yeah, that's something I think we discussed a while back with Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
That would be something fun.
He was great as Jill Morrison in that
I,
movie.
Amazing. Even though he didn't look exactly like
Hmm.
Jim Morrison, you are like he's believable.
Yeah.
That's how much he got into that character. I thought he did wonderful.
Just like I'm forgetting the guy's name, but the guy that played Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Malik,
Yeah,
or
that,
Rami Malik, whatever. He did not look like Freddie Mercury, but we come out
but
of
he
that.
he personified him very
Mhm.
well.
I was in tears. I loved it. It was
I loved it.
amazing.
I made Steve take me to the movies to
Me and
see
my
it.
brother, we all went, and it was amazing. And what was so great about it is the group of people that were there watching it with us were all singing along. It was like we was at a concert or something. It was amazing. It was a wonderful theater experience.
Mhm.
And the Queen in particular is a huge, huge band in both my brother and my life. Like
Yeah.
they're very prevalent. And Freddie Mercury is my brother's favorite singer and stuff. So it was amazing. I thought he was perfect choice. And just to shout out the guy that I tell you, nobody can ever be Freddie Mercury.
Mhm.
But that Mark Martell, I don't know if you know who he is, Dana. He's the one that they used his voice for a lot of the stuff. He sounds just like Freddie Mercury, as
Mhm.
close as you can get to Freddie Mercury. I would, if Queen, the reminding guys from Queen that if they had said, "Hey, will you come and join us and go tour?" I would go see them
Oh yeah.
because I mean he's just
Yeah, they
amazing.
could be like a tribute to the original Queen.
Yeah, because I'm not huge on what's his name that they got for um His voice just
Oh,
doesn't fit.
are you talking about that Adam Lambert? Didn't they?
Adam Lambert. Yeah, no, the guy can sing. He's a good singer
Right,
if you
right.
like that type of music.
Mm-hmm.
Pop, like he's got more of a pop voice.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not big on him in the Queen. I don't think. I mean, his soul is probably there. It's just I don't. You know, you either like it or you don't, and I'm not big on it. I'm not big.
Well, it's just like the guy that they got to replace. In Journey.
No, he sounds like Steve
He's
Perry.
he sounds like Steve Perry, but I don't think anybody could ever replace
Oh,
Steve
Lord,
Perry.
no.
Yeah,
His name
and
is something Parnell, maybe.
people always call him, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but they say the Filipino.
That's right. He is from the Philippines, isn't he?
Mhm.
That guy, I'm telling you, is talented though. He really is talented.
He does have a very, very powerful voice.
Now I can see him more because he does sound like, but Adam Lambert to me just does not fit. I don't know. His voice is too poppy. You know, Freddie Mercury he was out there. You know, very loud and just he had not a rough
Freddie
voice.
Mercury was rock and roll.
He was. It was through and through.
Yeah.
I mean, you put on Killer Queen or whatever you want to, even in the softer songs, and whenever he starts singing, it's like, whew, you got it. Tie your mother down, get
Oh
some
my
of the
gosh,
hard.
yeah. And I remember, not to bring anybody down, but I remember when Freddie Mercury died.
I was really young, and this is people's like, how can you remember? Because he died in 1990, right?
I think so.
They're like, how can
I
you
was in
remember
high
that?
school. Well, I was in high school when he passed
Yeah.
away.
Like I said, I was raised on Queen.
Mhm.
It was somebody. He was somebody that was always around. I always knew who he was. So when he passed away, it was talked about within my family and stuff. So it was very sad. And I remember that. I remember my very first song, and it's so funny because Noah's very first song that he ever sang was "We Will Rock You."
Mhm.
Just a second, my brother's trying to call me. He doesn't know that I'm in a meeting in a thing here.
Like, hey,
Um,
Candace, I want to talk to you.
the very first song I ever remember singing, and my mom remembers me singing, was "We Will Rock You." And whenever the first time I'd ever heard him sing a song like that, like outside of like kids songs, was "We Will Rock You." And I remember I used to have a crutch. You remember crutches? You can move the thing and you can pull the thing. And I was
Yeah.
singing to it. And back then, I thought that the drum beats was people stomping, which it kind of is people stomping.
That's what it sounds.
But I didn't know anything about drums or anything like that. I thought all drums were people stomping their feet and stuff like that. But yeah, Queen is a huge band for me.
Me too.
I absolutely love them.
Steve, you should see him look at me sometime because a while back I was really going into or getting into going to record shops quite a bit,
Yeah.
and I went to record shop after record shop after record shop in Louisville trying to find Queen albums.
Oh.
And Steve was like, Dana, give it up. You're not finding any Queen stuff. And I finally went to this one place called it was called I think it was Mac. It's not Mark Anthony's. I think it's Mac Anthony's record shop in the Highlands. And I went in there one day and I was just, shopping around. It was a very low key, small place. And I found a Queen album and the guy that owned the place came over and he said, "Hey, is there anything I can help you find?" I said, "Well, I think I found what I wanted." He said, "Oh yeah, Queen, yeah."
So Queen, what is your favorite Queen song?
Oh my gosh,
I know mine. It's not a rock song, really. It's one that is, to me, I love it. I absolutely love it. So I love my life.
I like that one really well. But
For Mary, who was the love of his life.
yeah,
I love their story.
Even though his sexual orientation was such that they didn't stay married.
Well, he liked both. I believe, which that's not for me to discuss, but he
Yeah,
loved her,
yeah, I
you
think
know.
I believe that he really did, and that is a fantastic song. But people are going to probably think, "Oh, why do you like this song? This is so melancholy."
Yeah,
But this is a very powerful song, and
it
it's
is.
Who Wants to Live Forever is the one that I'm.
I like that one as well. He was sick during that time when
Yeah.
you know.
But his voice still
Mhm.
could,
It was powerful. Yeah, it really
yeah,
was.
it could bring me to tears
Mm.
with that.
No, yeah, Chris likes "Don't Stop Me
Don't
Now."
stop me now. It's great. There's just so many. Candace put me on the spot there. There's so many. It's hard
Now
to
my brother's is Radio Gaga. He loves Radio
find.
Gaga. That's Now I love them all. No, I love Killer Queen. I mean, you just
Yeah.
bring them to me. I love them. I love them all.
I can't think of a Bohemian Rhapsody. I
Oh,
like it.
of course, yeah,
It you know, I think a lot of people started loving it after Wayne's World, and everybody
yeah,
that knows
definitely. That
Wayne's
brought that
World
out
knows
there
that
big.
scene. And I still love that scene in Wayne's World, but let me tell you, I loved Bohemian Rhapsody before Wayne's World.
Now, let me tell you something. Whenever it comes to Wayne's World, that is one of the most the uh, quoted parts of any movie for me, Chris, and my brother. Like if we're going to listen to Queen, we always
Mhm.
do the how about a little Bohemian Rhapsody, gentlemen?
Yeah,
You know, we stick it out there. I love it.
fat,
That was one of my
fat
favorite movies
bottom
growing up.
girls, Chris.
Yeah, I love it. And I love Brian May. I think Brian May is
Brian May, yeah.
his guitar because he would build his own guitars and stuff. So, he and his dad would construct these guitars and stuff, and the sound was so different.
Mhm.
Um, and Brian May he's a very intelligent person anyway, and I think that's what really gave Queen their unique sound. It was just a match made in heaven whenever it came to all these guys getting together. It was really a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
And
it really, I mean, they really just held together really well,
yeah,
and they complemented each other.
they did. Freddie Mercury was I don't know. He was just to me he's untouchable in so many ways. And I just love his sassiness that I love watching him, just like talking interviews and stuff like that. He's so I don't know his attitude. I loved it. I thought he's sassy. I love it.
Yeah, and you know, you couldn't pull one over on Freddie Mercury.
No, he knew what he wanted and he went for that. And I think about well, what about if he did it was still around these days. What else could they have accomplished? What else could they have? But I think in his short time that he was here, the accomplishments that they did create are, I don't know, huge in the music industry, not just in rock and roll, just in music in general. Queen is to me one of the greatest bands of all time. And to the world, it is just like the Beatles. Really, if you sit and think about it, the Beatles is probably considered the biggest band of all time. I don't think anything ever touched Beatlemania.
Oh,
There's been
no.
stuff that's happened like with the Backstreet Boys and New Kids on the Block, and in more recent years, this what is it? What's the band's name? One Direction. I know it was huge.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
BTS. Well, I think
Steve
it's the
used to
band's
tease
name.
his niece about One Direction. I think that was the band that he used to tease her about.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, there's been things that's happened afterwards. And I think Taylor Swift, her like group, I don't know what you would call them. What were they called? Swifties or something? That's
Oh,
huge.
yeah.
But Beatlemania was just something that was
I think it took
for that time period.
everybody by storm,
It
and I mean
did.
everybody.
It did. Well, to me, my favorite band is the Beatles. They will always be my favorite band. I fell in love with them when I was 7 years old, and there was no looking back.
I
Once I
think I think for me, the Beatles, I had always heard of the Beatles and I knew their music and stuff like that. But when that anthology came out,
Yeah.
that's when it hit me that, oh my gosh, what a band this is. Where have I been under a rock or something here? Because it really connected me to their music
Yeah.
in a way that I had never been connected to their music
Yeah.
before.
Well, like I said, I was 7 years old, Dana, when I fell in love with them, and I actually felt like those girls on the TV that I was watching. I felt like how they when you're watching like clips of these girls going and seeing them at concert. I felt like that. Me
Mhm.
that young. I mean, it was crazy, and I'm like, what is these people? I know that they were old. I knew that was way before my time, but I fell in love with them. My first love was Ringo.
Well, mine too. I mean, Ringo and those puppy dog eyes and stuff. Oh my gosh. And I was like, I know he's an older man now, but holy cow. If I had been a young girl back in the days when they came to America for the first time,
Yeah.
I would have been swooning right along with the rest of those girls.
Now, me, I started as I got a little bit into a more. I fell in love with John, and he ended up being
When
one I really, really connected with. I thought he was funny. I thought he was witty, and
mm,
because he's the funny one that you see in these.
and I think John had heart. John took a lot of flack for comments he made over time, for the way he conducted himself. Now, do I approve of all his
Mhm.
life choices? No.
He had
I
his
did.
demons for sure.
Yeah, yeah, as everybody does.
Yeah,
Um, but I think I could set aside his life choices that he made that I don't agree with and focus more on the music. The
yeah,
man was an incredible musician. He was an
yeah.
incredible
They
songwriter.
all were.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, even Ringo was. Ringo would come out with some.
He's a phenomenal drummer. People don't realize how good of a drummer Ringo is. And I remember in school, I was probably like in fifth grade or something like that. There's a boy, I had a Beatles shirt on. He was like, their drummer really don't know how to drum. Their drummer was really, really sucks. I was like, it's Pete Best, buddy. That's because he was thinking Pete, which I'm not saying Pete Best was a bad drummer. I don't know. I don't know how Pete Best was, but that's who he was trying to act like was. I
Oh,
said
yeah.
their drummer's name is Ringo. He said, "No, it's Ringo, the one that can't drum." I said, "He can drum." I remember we got into a fight. It was something crazy. Didn't even know the Beatles. He needed to shut up.
Yeah, you need to go back
You
home.
need to go on. I don't know
Quit
what
trying to
he's.
talk to me about the Beatles. I know more about the Beatles than you do.
I got mad of it. He was just sitting there trying to fight with me, and I was like, "Okay, you know better than me. That's
Go
fine."
back home to your mama and talk to her about Pete Best or what.
So, as in the Beatles, what is your favorite song, or one of your favorite songs? What when it comes to the Beatles, what do you like to
What?
listen to?
Now I liked all their stuff, but here I'm going to give a little explanation, and this is not meant to offend anybody that likes the Beatles early stuff. The Beatles early stuff was fun.
Mhm.
I want to hold your hand, all that stuff. It was light and it was poppy and it was uh not, you didn't have to think about anything, but just
Yeah,
having fun and dancing along with the music. Now, the stuff that I really, really like and consider my favorite stuff is when it started getting more personal. The stuff like Hey Jude, Let It Be, um, and just, that kind of stuff that really was personal. And you can hear the Beatles talk about that.
yeah.
You could hear Paul McCartney talk about where Let It Be came from, and it tied in with his mother who
His
died
mother,
at
Mary.
a
Yeah,
young age. Yeah, she would tell him, "You just got to let it be," and that
yeah.
just resonated with me. Um, Hey Jude is the same thing. Hey Jude was written for Julian Lennon.
It's supposed to have been Hey Jules. Yeah,
Hmm. And you know, um, the stuff from the White Album
Oh,
is
I love the White Album.
best
I absolutely love it.
the best stuff. Even Why Don't We Do It in the Road, which seems very silly, but I love it. Helter Skelter,
Mhm.
despite its association with Charles Manson and all that nonsense, that song is actually about a giant
And
slime.
it's hard rock,
Yeah.
considering, the time period and stuff.
When
It
I
was
get
very
to
heavy
the
for that
bottom, I
time.
go back to the top of the slide, and that is just so fun. The birthday song. I want to sing that to everybody on their
Yeah.
birthday. You say it's your birthday, I don't want to
Yeah.
sing too much of it because it might get YouTube all bent out of shape.
No, but
Coco
I love the White Album.
Coco says she loves the White Album
I
herself.
love it. Yeah.
So many. Blackbird is on that one, and Your Blues, and just on and on. I could go on and on about the songs that are on there. I won't because that'll probably bore people.
My
But
brother and I love a song called Rocky Raccoon.
Rocky
I abso
Raccoon, yeah,
I absolutely love that song, and that's one thing I love about the Beatles is because they did not care about going into different genres. They would use unique instruments
oh,
in their music, and it didn't have to stay to one style. And
mhm.
Rocket Raccoon, it takes you back to you thinking about like gold mining or something back in the West or something. It's really it's I love that song. I absolutely love it.
Obla Dee Obla Da is just a
Mhm.
fun song to. I don't know what all that noise is, but Reg, okay. Hold on just a second. Oh, well, Steve says he's got it, so I
Okay.
guess he'll let Reggie out. Um, I was trying to, oh
What
gosh,
would you be your favorite album? Let's start with that. What's
favorite
your favorite?
album.
Mhm.
My favorite album probably would have to be the White Album.
Really? My
Hmm.
favorite album of all time, not just of the Beatles, is A Hard Day's Night.
Hard Day's Night, I love it, but probably it'd almost be a tie for me with the White Album and Abbey Road, which
I love
Abbey
Abbey
Road
Road. I love them all,
was,
but I love Abbey Road.
yeah.
That album really I remember when I bought Abbey Road on cassette tape
Hmm.
and listening to it all the way through for the first time. And it was such an experience. I remember this listening to that I had headphones on, the ones with the little spiral, big, huge plug in that you plug into your record player.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is so different because that was the first, besides Sergeant Pepper, that was the first album from the Beatles that I heard like that. And I
Mhm.
had already listened to Sergeant Pepper, which was a stretch out of their earlier stuff. Because
Exactly.
Sergeant Pepper, I think, come out in '68. I think that's what
Magical
actually
Mystery
launched.
Tour went way out there. There was definitely drug influence
Oh,
in
yeah.
Magical
But
Mystery
Abbey
Tour.
Road was so deep. Even
Yes, it
songs
was.
that like Maxwell Silverhammer, even songs like that, it was so different.
Golden
And
Slumbers, those little
Golden
snippets that were
Slumbers, yeah.
kind of a melody together. I
Mhm.
love Golden
Oh,
Slumbers.
yeah, I love that whole thing.
Mhm.
And just like Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam and
Holocene Pam, yeah.
Sun King and I just that whole album is a masterpiece. I love all the Beatles albums, don't get me wrong. But I really appreciate um, Abbey Road in a different way sometimes. I think it's because it was the first album, like I said, that kind of I was like, wow, this is so different. It's
Yeah.
so different. But yeah, A Hard Day's Night's my favorite album of all time. My favorite song of all time, not just the Beatles, is I Should Have Known Better.
Hmm.
Absolutely love it. I love the scene in A Hard Day's Night where they're sitting in that train car playing, um, cars and Patty Boyd's up here and looking in all giddy at 'em. I
I
love
mean,
it. I
me
love it.
and Candace did a watch along for
I
Hard
did.
Day's
Check
Night,
that out.
which was a lot of fun.
It
Yeah.
was amazing. I loved it.
Another song I really like, which is a George Harrison song, is
Mhm.
Something.
Something. I
Something
love
is
it.
a very romantic song,
Very.
and it has all the women that were with each of the guys in the. If I guess you would call it a video nowadays
Yeah,
for the song.
that song, yeah.
But
Just the way that he sounded, and around that time, back when I was a kid, he sounded so much like John during that time. They sounded so much alike. I don't know if you ever got that, but to me, they
yeah,
did.
now that I think about it, yeah.
And I don't know. I really think that George started blossoming and coming into himself around that time, which led into his amazing solo career.
He did
George
have
Harrison
an
had an
amazing
amazing
solo
solo career. I absolutely love George Harrison's solo career, and I think when it like the Traveling Wilburys, whenever he was with,
yeah.
Jeff Ty or what's his name, Jeff Lynne of
Mhm.
um, Blue, what's it there, ELO. I can't think of
Yeah,
nothing.
oh, yeah.
ELO and Roy Orbison, which is one of my favorite artists of all time. I absolutely love him. Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
um, Tom Petty, which is one of my
Tom Petty,
favorite. They're all some of my favorite musicians that's in that. And if you never checked them out, go check them out because I absolutely love the Traveling Wilburys.
yeah.
But yeah, George Harrison is a I don't know, he was deep.
And I was really bummed when George Harrison passed
Oh
away
yeah, yeah,
because here's the thing, if I had been old enough to know anything about it when John Lennon was
yeah.
assassinated, um, or murdered, I
And that
guess
was
we
6
should
years
say.
before I was even born.
So I was born in 76. John Lennon died in
We was just
1980.
little.
I was
Mhm.
too little to even,
Yeah.
be able to comprehend anything like that. Now, of course, my parents knew about it.
My parents remembered it. Yeah.
Mhm. But if I had been old enough, let's say I'd been a teenager in 1980, in December of 1980, and I was able for that to really sink in, I would have been super bummed out. I probably would have been one of those people that was crying, and I cried over George Harrison.
Oh yeah, I remember. You know my story about when I'm
Yeah,
out, but in
Candace,
high school.
yeah, Candace, it really
It
took
did.
her down. I mean,
Really did.
that's her personal story. I'm not gonna,
Yeah. It was just really hard. It was hard because they were more than just a band. And I think Dana probably feels the same way. They were more than a band to
mm-hmm,
me.
yeah.
Um, being a child who was very backwards and not have many friends, music was my outlet, and the Beatles were that for me. They were huge in my life, and I know Dana feels the same way.
Music and
Uh,
movies and books.
yeah,
That was it for me. And I had a hard time making friends as well. I never had I can't say that I had super close friends growing up. I have closer friends now
yeah.
than I had when I was growing up. And so, yeah, I had, music and movies and books were basically my
Music,
outlet.
music was my number one. I mean, just everything. It's still to this day, I'm a huge music fan. I mean, just really, really huge. But as you get older, you find other things. But as a kid, that was my everything was music. I mean, I loved movies, I loved TV shows and stuff like that too, and even books. But I don't know, it was something about music that I fell really hard into it. I love music more than just anything. It was like, here this stuff is. This is a way of getting my frustration out because I held everything in as a kid. So if
Me
I
too.
wanted to, I could stick in some Bad Company or something like
Yeah,
that, and
exactly.
it would help me get my frustrations out, some Def Leppard or something. That's what I was
Def
listening
Leppard,
to as
yeah.
a kid.
Have you ever seen, speaking of Def Leppard, because I think I had Def Leppard on my list here. Have you ever seen them in concert? I
Yes.
can't remember. Okay. So me and Steve have too. We went to see Def Leppard, Styx.
Yeah.
What was, oh, shoot.
It was Def Leppard and Styx and Tesla.
Tesla. That's exactly
Mhm.
right. Steve would kill me for forgetting that because Steve introduced me to Tesla.
Oh, really? I've never
Mhm.
been a huge Tesla fan, but I liked them in concert. They were pretty good. They're just somebody that I never really cared. I don't know. I just I don't know, but they were good in concert. I was really bummed though that Dennis DeYoung wasn't with Styx because we're huge Styx fans, and my mom loves Dennis DeYoung. But the guy was really good, who filled that role in Styx. I love Styx. Me and my brother's huge Styx fans.
Yeah, Sticks I always have loved, but Tesla was a new one. Like I said, when Steve
Yeah.
and I got together, he introduced me to Tesla, and I was
Yeah.
like, man, I like this music. Let me see. I didn't want to miss anything anybody was putting in the chat. Chris
Oh, yeah.
says Rocky Raccoon was the inspiration for Rocket Raccoon, the Marvel character. Now, I did not know that.
Huh.
I didn't. So thank
Makes
you for that,
sense.
Chris. Coco, I have seen Sergeant Pepper Lonely Hearts Club. You say I saw it once. It was so weird.
Yeah.
Well, not as weird as Magical Mystery Tour. I think Magical
Yeah.
Mystery Tour was weirder than Sergeant Pepper's.
You put any of those movies together, it can't be no weirder than Head from the Monkees. That movie was really out there.
Yeah. Oh boy.
They were dandruff in that movie and somebody's hair.
I have not watched it, but I've heard plenty about it.
We need to do a watch along for Waiting on Woodstock, so go ahead and plan on that, Dana.
That would be wild. Yeah, we got to do that. And Twiz is in here. He says, hey, how are y'all doing? We're
Hey.
doing good, Twiz. I've been flirting around with having a cold, but other than that, I'm okay.
That time of year.
But gang, my mom just called me, and I'm just going to take myself out of the stream for a second and let Candice keep y'all entertained. I'm just going to make sure that there's not anything urgent that she needs to talk to me about. So I will be right back, hopefully.
Well, she's left me alone. I guess I could talk more about the Beatles and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been a Beatles fan since I was 7 years old. I remember discovering them. I think I've always knew who they were, but when because we used to have this local radio station back when AM radio was still around, and I loved it. It was called 1690 was the station, and they would play a lot of the Beatles albums and stuff on there. And I grew up loving the 60s anyway, and I loved the 50s, and I loved people like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. I love the older stuff. I was always into older stuff. But I heard a lot of Beatles stuff on that channel, and I don't know, I just got really into them. And one Christmas, I don't know if you all remember that Shop with a Cop thing, but they chose me to do that because one of the kids had dropped out at school, and they had to find a last minute person to fill it in. They said, hey, Candice, take this to your parent and see if you can do it. And my mom let me, and we went there, and we both, I think all the kids got like $20 a piece or something, which back then was a lot of money. And I had chosen to get a Beatles VHS tape that had like old concerts and like news reels and just interviews with them. It was really nice. I watched it all the time. And I had got a another VHS that had like classic TV, like I Love Lucy, Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, stuff like that. And I love that kind of thing, the Jack Benny Show. And that was right up my alley, so I got that as well. I never forget that. And I remember going home and putting that in. I wanted to be alone. I didn't want nobody to be around when I put it in because I just wanted to watch it, not be disturbed. I remember that. And put it in, and it started off with this concert. And I remember the first song that they started playing was Twist and Shout. And I seen all these little teenagers just like going crazy. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. This is just so awesome. And I also remember hearing Can't Buy Me Love. And I was like, I know that song. And it was from a movie. The guy's name, what is his name? I forget his name. If Dana was on here, maybe she would know it. But it's a movie called Can't Buy Me Love. And I remember that song playing, and I remember liking it. And I remember when I was watching the Beatles and that song came on, I was like, oh, that's a Beatles song. That's the Beatles. So yeah, I fell in love with them, and instantly I remember just asking, I want the Beatles cassettes. I want Beatles cassettes. So my mom would, give me an allowance, and we'd go to Walmart, and she would let me pick out a cassette tape. And I think the very first one that I purchased was probably A Hard Day's Night. I'm pretty sure. And then a little bit later, maybe a year, it was right around the same time that I really got into them. I think it might have been that Christmas. So it probably was just a little bit, maybe a month or so after I went and bought the cassette or the VHS tape. Um, they were having a special on, I think, Turner Classic Movies, and it was hosted by Phil Collins, because Phil Collins apparently was actually in A Hard Day's Night. He's in the audience. Um, at the end when they're recording, it shows the audience. He's actually a little kid in the audience. He was there during filming of that. And he was hosting a double feature of A Hard Day's Night and Help. And I didn't know anything about Help or Hard Day's Night. I didn't know that they were movies, but I remember the advertising of that, because I watched a lot of Turner Classic Movies. So I said, I got to record this. And this is back when you would record on VHS. And I remember recording it and watching Help and A Hard Day's Night for the first time. And I loved them. I was like, this is just the greatest thing ever. And I would watch them all the time. All the time. I mean, the tape that I had, the VHS tape, I about wore it out. And I probably still have it somewhere around here, but that was, I don't know, mid-90s sometime. But I just fell in love with them, and I've always had just a really deep connection with their music. When I met my husband, the song Imagine, John Lennon's Imagine, just started showing up everywhere. Like, we would turn on the radio, it would be on. We'd go to a restaurant to eat, he'd be playing. Just in the most random of times, Imagine would come on. And it was so prevalent that, I'm not the first one that pointed it out. I was recognizing it. And I noticed it, but I didn't say anything. And then just one day, Chris was like, you notice that everywhere we go, Imagine it's been playing? And I said, yeah, I guess that's just our song. So from that moment on, Imagine became our song. And when we got married, we were going to use it as our wedding song, but we decided to do Stand By Me, or Stand By Me, yeah. Stand By Me by John Lennon, his version, which I loved. I loved his version of it. And I walked down the aisle to that, because we could only use one song, that we were having trouble getting somebody to officiate over a wedding, because it was such short notice. Like, we had been planning on getting married, but we had a family emergency, and we wanted to do the wedding, before that, whatever was going to happen was going to happen. So don't want to get into it or anything like that, because it's personal, but so we had to get a preacher really fast, and he actually had to leave. He's like, listen, this is going to have to be short, because I can't, So we had to choose one song, and it was Stand By Me by John Lennon. So
I love the John Lennon version, by the way.
that's my favorite. Yeah. So I walked down the aisle to it. My dad walked me down the aisle to Stand By Me, and that was very, very special. So yeah.
Well,
Probably brought people to tears. I hope nothing was wrong, Dana.
No, Mom, I had, okay, so real quick, she got a new phone, and she called me yesterday, and I didn't recognize the number. And I think I told Candice this story in one of the messages I sent to her earlier. But anyway, she left a message for me, so I called her back, and I didn't get her. I got her voicemail. So she looked at her phone today and thought my voice message from yesterday was from today. And so she was calling me. But guys and gals, I hate to go away again, but my Walmart order just got delivered. So if I can leave Candice alone for a couple more minutes, and hopefully nobody will get upset with me, but I just got to bring that stuff in and set it on the countertop, and then I'll be right back. So, Candace, sorry for going.
Oh, you're fine. It's the people watching me that I'm worried about.
Oh, we got 8 people in here. I don't think anybody's upset. So I'll be right back, gang.
So this is a music show. If you're watching, and you want to share some bands that you like, I would like to hear, what kind of bands you listen to. I listen to a little bit of everything. I love everything from, American standards like the Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, to classic country. I love Hank Williams Sr. and George Jones and stuff like that. But I love rock and roll. That's my main, and metal, heavy metal. I'm a huge heavy metal fan. Judas Priest, Metallica, Anthrax, even Slayer and Pantera, stuff like that. Iron Maiden. Um, but I grew up with my mom was a huge 80s fan. She loves the 80s, Duran Duran, Prince, Styx, Little River Band, stuff like that. My dad was a rock fan. He was a huge rock fan, ZZ Top, Creedence, Bad Company, and just I was raised on really good music, and that was something that I'm proud of. I'm proud of that. I think my first concert that I chose to go to, the very first concert I ever went to, was a Sawyer Brown. Well, according to my mom, it was a Chubby Checker concert. I don't remember it, but the first one that I remember going to was Sawyer Brown. I couldn't have been 3 or 4 years old, and I remember my aunt put me up on her shoulders, and which I wasn't a Sawyer Brown fan or anything like that, but I did enjoy it. It was something new. I was a kid. I was like, "Oh, this is neat." But the very first concert that I actually like, I had been to some before that, but like a band that I was really, really wanting to see was the Rolling Stones. And that was in 2006. I got to see them at the Kentucky Derby, Churchill Downs. It was the very first concert I ever played there. And it was the Rolling Stones with Alice Cooper, who I loved. I loved Alice Cooper, opening for them. And that was really an amazing concert. I had waited my whole life. I love the Rolling Stones. I was a huge Rolling Stones fan. So I had waited a really long time to see them and never thought I would. And I just remember sitting there and watching Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and just everybody, Charlie Watts. And it was surreal. It was really surreal because, I mean, here they are older, they're not like they were in the 60s, 70s, 80s, stuff like that, but they sure got around good. And and the concert was amazing. It was really fun. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, it was really surreal getting to experience seeing the Stones. That was a huge moment for me. And I think that later that year I got to see Guns N' Roses. It was Axl and other people, it wasn't, Slash or Duff or anybody like that. But that was a good concert. I got to see Sebastian Bach of Skid Row open, who I thought was a really great singer. I've always thought Sebastian Bach was a amazing singer, very talented singer, and a band called Papa Roach. I kind of was different, on the bill there. It wasn't, didn't really sound like Guns N' Roses or what Sebastian Bach had sang, but they were okay. Not saying that I don't like them or anything like that, but I don't really choose to listen to them very much. But the concert was good. And I ended up seeing them probably 4 or 5 more times. They would be opening for different bands. So I was like, dang, I've seen Papa Roach so many times. I don't know if they're like one of the most they're probably one of the most seen bands that I've ever seen. Not by choice, but just because they were always opening up for people. But they always put on a good show. I will say that. Fun show. But I've been privileged to see a lot of people that I really love and admire in concert. Got to see Paul McCartney, which was a huge one for me. I mean, it was like, I'm like, is this real life? I'm getting to see Paul McCartney. This is like my dream. Unfortunately I had to go alone. The tickets were very, very expensive. And it was in Nashville. And I remember my husband, Chris, he's like, oh, I'm not going to be there with you, but I will be outside. I'll go tour of Nashville while you're doing that because he loves Nashville. And but seeing Paul McCartney was very surreal. I think Dana's seen Paul McCartney too, so she's got to experience that.
Yeah,
Amazing. Have you seen Elton John?
Yes,
that was one of the best nights of my life too. Was seeing Elton John. I absolutely love Elton John.
Did Elton John do a bunch of encores when you saw him?
Oh yeah, that was
when we saw him.
It's the only concert I've ever left, and me and Chris both felt it. We were
Mhm.
actually floating. I felt like I was floating out of that venue. We floated all the way home. It
Yeah.
was just so amazing. I was like, I just got to see Elton John. I love Elton John. He was amazing, very appreciative to the fans. I know Elton John, a lot of people can take his attitude or leave it, but
Right.
he was so kind and just
Yeah.
so appreciative to the fans. And he put on one amazing concert. And I've seen recently that he has actually went blind, which I think I hate that for him.
Yeah.
Um, Elton John is one of those because he's actually probably my favorite solo artist of all time. I absolutely love Elton John.
Right. Speaking of Elton John, we were talking about music movies earlier. Did you see Rocket Man?
I have no interest in it.
And Steve didn't either, but he likes Elton John.
Yeah.
And I thought it was. I didn't think it was an outstanding movie. I didn't think it was like Bohemian Rhapsody level
Yeah.
or anything. But I thought it was. I thought it was okay.
Yeah. I'll eventually probably watch it. I don't know. I didn't because I believe I seen um the previews to it at the Bohemian Rhapsody. I
Yeah,
believe.
that's a possibility. Yeah,
Pretty
really.
sure. But Lisa, I'm going to sneak out for a second. I've
Okay.
got some guests. I need to go see something. I'll be right back,
Okay.
okay?
So I will keep y'all entertained here while Candace steps away. And I don't, I know she hasn't talked about this person or this group. And people will probably, when I bring this up again, they'll probably be like, oh God, she's bringing that up again. But this is probably a band that not a whole lot of people have heard of, have even thought of. But the way I discovered them was through a horror movie of all places. And I don't know how many of you guys and gals have seen House on Sorority Row, which is an old slasher movie in the 80s. And there was a band that was the house band for this party that the sorority girls were having. And the band is a real band, 4 out of 5 doctors. And you're probably thinking, what a weird, name for a band, 4 out of 5 doctors. But their music is very poppy, but they're also, what would you call it? New wave type of stuff, because some of their stuff talks about aliens and things like that. Um, I don't really think of their stuff as punk. It's either poppy or new wave. And I just gravitated towards their music. I am talking about Candace. I don't know if you've heard of this group before, but 4 out of 5 doctors. Have you?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And people are probably thinking, oh my gosh, Dana's talking about 4 out of 5 doctors again. But I was explaining that the way I discovered them was through a horror movie of all
Hmm.
places. The movie House on Sorority Row, which
Hmm.
came out in the 80s, early 80s. And the house band for the party that the sorority girls were having was 4 out of 5 doctors, which were a real band. And they are, to me, they're half pop and half new wave.
Okay. My mom
So
is a huge new wave fan. She's an 80s fan, so she always
you
liked new
you
wave.
should
Yeah.
you should ask her if she's heard of 4 out of 5 doctors.
Probably not. She didn't even know what new wave was. I was like, Mom, it's what basically you listen to. She's like, I don't know. I never called it anything back then.
But I'd love to play some snippets of their music, but again, probably YouTube would get me for that. So I can't. But Modern Man is one of their songs that they played on House on Sorority Row. That Modern Man's kind of poppy. Waiting on Roxanne. Candace Scully. Yeah, waiting on Roxanne. Um, gosh, I'm just totally. Hey, Russell, Pinball Wizard. Yes, I mean, Well, we can talk about the Who. When you said Pinball Wizard, that made me think of the Who, which the Who is one of my favorite bands as well. Um, but if y'all will permit me to, I'm not going to take myself out of the stream. I'm just going to go grab the 4 out of 5 Doctors album off my shelf. I'll be right back. I was afraid Candice was going to come back and see me gone and be like, "Where'd she go?" Okay, so this is, I pulled a couple of their albums off my shelf, and these are used albums. So, but that is the band there. That's the band 4 out of 5 Doctors there, and this is their Second Opinion album. And so it's got Good Pretender, Dawn Patrol, Anna with Antenna, which is one of those kind of new wave type of songs. Breaking Rocks, Never Say Die, um, Waiting for Roxanne, Lonely Ones, Heart on a Chain, Call Me at Home, and Young World. And then I think this might have been their first album right here. So this is it's just called 4 out of 5 Doctors. So this has Modern Man, Jeff, Waiting for a Change. Waiting for a Change is one of my favorite songs by them. Elizabeth, Opus 10, I Want Her, New Wave Girls, Mr. Cool Shoes, I like as well. Danger Man, Mushroom Boy, and Not From Her World. And the lead singer is a guy named Cal Everett. He's the guy in the middle there with the longish blonde colored hair. But anyway, I just wanted to show those while we were talking about them here. Yes, you are correct, Russell. Elton did a great version in the film Tommy as the Pinball Wizard. Exactly. And Coco, you say you mentioned this before, and I'm pretty sure I went and looked them up. You probably did, because a lot of people probably did, because they were probably thinking, "What in the heck is Dana going on about? Is this a real band or not?" But yes, it is a real band. Another band. I don't know if Candice brought this up when she was on here by herself or not, but the Eagles. I know Candice loves the Eagles. Candice, you came back at the right time, because I know you love the Eagles.
Oh, one of my favorite bands of all time.
But while you were gone, I'm not going to go over this all again, but I took out my 4 out of 5 Doctors.
Okay.
The 2 albums that I have by them. This is the one I love, the cover art of, it's like Siamese twins. And I know you're not supposed to say Siamese twins. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Well, I heard that you're not supposed to call them Siamese twins. But, I hear a lot of things, and I'm like, okay.
Sorry if you hear a lot of background noise.
Oh, that's okay. No
I'll tell you why here after we get off of here.
Russell's saying hi to Candice.
Hi,
Russell. But the Eagles is a band that I grew up with. I think Candice grew up listening to them. Candice has an even more personal reason for liking the Eagles than I do. I just grew up listening to their music and loved it. Yeah. Candice has I'll let her talk about that if she wants to.
Yeah, my dad, that was one of his favorite bands of all time. He could tell you anything about the Eagles. He loved them. So they'll get emotional. I don't, that's
I didn't
very emotional, but I love the Eagles. I absolutely love them. one of the greatest bands of all time to me. And I've seen them in concert, and they were amazing. You know, and I could go on and on about the Eagles, the Hotel California, all that stuff. I absolutely love them. Love them.
Yeah. So, what do you think of like Don Henley, for
Love it.
instance? What do you think of his solo
I
work?
love it. I love his solo career. I loved Don Henley's. I even loved Glenn Fry's,
Yeah.
Joe Walsh's with the James Gang, and
Yeah.
you know, I love it all. I do. But the Boys of Summer, like that song, is so special. After my dad passed away,
Boys
we
of
were
Summer is
in.
a great song.
See, my nephew's name's Henley. He's named after Don Henley. My brother's a huge Eagles fan as well, and they named him Don, after Don Henley. And we were in Walmart after my dad had passed away, and Boys of Summer from Don Henley's solo career was playing over the loudspeaker, and he said, "Sissy, there's Don Henley of the Eagles." I said, "Yeah, it is," because he knows all about it, you know. And he said, "Papa loved that song." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "He did." He said, "That's Papa saying hi." I said, "It is Papa saying hi." So now every time that song comes on, we'll say, "Hey, Henley," or he'll say, "Hey, Sissy, that's Papa saying hi from heaven." So that's our little, not to get too emotional or anything like that, or, sappy, but it's a very special. It is. It's very special.
Didn't Don Henley do the song "All She Wants to Do Is Dance"?
Yeah. Sunset Grill, and
Yeah.
I love them all. Last Lonely Evening.
I
Um,
even like, and this is probably kind of mean to say that I like this, but Dirty Laundry.
my brother loves that song, Dirty Laundry.
Dirty Laundry just
Hold on.
resonates with me so much.
Okay. I've got to leave again.
That's okay, Candice. You do what you need to. But we can talk more about the Eagles when Candice comes back if she wants to. Russell, you say I remember buying my first James Gang album and loved their music. That's cool. See, me and Candice love hearing y'all's memories and stuff of things, and we hope that having shows like this will be a way that people can kind of reminisce. It'll bring back good memories and all that. And guys and gals, I wanted to leave the Santa hat on for the duration of the stream, but I just can't. I had it on for a little bit, but so I can have it on in small doses and all that. But now this gal's going to put her hair back. Sorry for those of y'all that like the Santa hat. It'll probably be on. It'll make an appearance a few more times before Christmas. All right. So, like I said, me and Candice can talk more about the Eagles when she gets back if she would like to. And y'all can talk about any of this stuff or add additional bands and musicians to the discussion as well. But somebody else, we talked about the Beatles. We talked a little bit about John Lennon, but let's talk about John Lennon a little more in depth. John Lennon, Ringo was always my favorite Beatle personality wise for a long, long time. Like I said, I love those puppy dog eyes and the way he talked and stuff like that. Russell, you say Joe Walsh as himself on the Drew Carey show was great. I loved this. Are there any clips or anything of that, Russell, like on YouTube? I'd love to see that. But John Lennon, after the Beatles anthology, I started wanting to get into the Beatles, their solo careers after the Beatles, right? And so that was when I really started a musical romance with John Lennon because his solo work was outstanding. It was amazing. The body of work that man put out for someone who died when they were 40 years old. Think about it, folks. He died when he was 40 years old. You look at the catalog of work that man had prior to his death. He had the Double Fantasy album out the year that he died. And Double Fantasy is just absolutely fantastic. Whether you like Yoko or not, the melding of their two musical types really, really worked on that album. I love Double Fantasy. Of course, I love John's songs the best, but Yoko contributed quite a bit to the album as well. So, not only Double Fantasy, though, but, as weird as it may sound, even stuff like Two Virgins and stuff, I actually have that album. Y'all may have seen me show it, albeit it has to be in the brown bag. You can't, I don't want to get in trouble for showing nudity on YouTube, because even if you have your videos marked as not for kids, you get caught showing nudity of any kind, somebody's going to inevitably say it's obscene. Okay. So you didn't get to see the full thing, but if you want to look up the Two Virgins album, you certainly can. Oh my gosh, Russell. Yes. You say loved Ringo Starr with Peter Sellers in the film The Magic Christian, classic film. I agree with you 100% on that, Russell. And that's another movie that I'd love for me and Candice to do a watch along for on Waiting on Woodstock. And I'm going to talk to her about that, because Magic Christian, amazing film, very funny film, very satirical film in a lot of ways as well. But yeah, I don't even know where to start and end with John Lennon. It's just his body of work. Candice, did you want to add anything about the Eagles before I go back to my love fest about John Lennon?
No, I just, they're one of my favorite bands. Like I said, they're in my top favorite bands of all time. I absolutely love the Eagles. Very special. They're one of those special bands. But sorry, I keep on having to go in and out. We got some stuff going on, and I'll tell you about it later.
Well, I've left 2 or 3 times anyway.
People's like, what in the world's going on here?
But Russell did mention, this is in connection with Ringo. He said, loved Ringo Starr with Peter Sellers in the film The Magic Christian.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, that we need to do a watch along for The Magic Christian.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
And
just not Caveman. I don't I care less if I watch that one again.
I like Magic Christian better than I do Caveman, even though it's funny, and Ringo was on there with Barbara Bach, and who became his wife, and or became his second wife.
Yeah.
Coco said never heard of that movie, but love Peter Sellers. I love Peter Sellers too. Peter Sellers is another person that I have to separate his personal life from his on-screen persona, because I had heard that Peter Sellers had a very violent temper. He had trouble getting along with the women he was with, and all kinds of things. But on screen, the man is a riot.
Now he plays Pink Panther, right?
Mm-hmm. Inspector
General or whatever.
Yeah.
Those movies he's in those. Yeah.
Exactly. But he was also in There's a Girl in My Soup with Goldie Hawn, where she gives him the pot brownies.
Yeah.
And, those are all movies that we could definitely do watch alongs for.
Definitely.
I mean, there's other movies that don't have Peter Sellers in them that are from that time period. Butterflies Are Free. Gosh, what's the other one? Butterflies Are Free is where Goldie Hawn has the neighbor that's blind, and she ends up falling in love with him. Yeah. Cactus Flower is another one with Goldie Hawn.
I love Goldie Hawn.
That I absolutely love. It is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Ingrid Bergman's on it. Walter Matthau is on it. He plays a dentist on it, and him and Goldie Hawn have a relationship, and Walter Matthau's character in it is a guy that likes to play the field, and he don't
Yeah.
want to be attached to one girl, but he really cares about Goldie Hawn's character, and so he tells her that he's married, and then he gets in a spot where his receptionist, played by Ingrid Bergman, has to go to Goldie Hawn and say, "Yeah, I'm his wife," but we don't love each other anymore.
Yeah.
So you can have them. But craziness ensues in Cactus Flower from then on out. But um, Lolita, Lolita is a great movie too.
I don't
Yeah, I
think I've
agree
seen
with
that
that.
one.
Yeah, you should watch Lolita sometime. Peter Sellers plays a kind of sleazy character in Lolita. Russell says the Magic Christian is available on YouTube.
Oh,
So
really? Well,
folks. I think I've got it on Blu-ray.
yeah, we might can do us a watch along to that if you're game for it too.
Oh my gosh, I would love it. Steve looks at the Magic Christian. He's like, I never want to see this movie again, Dana. It's one of those movies he just never wants to see again. And I've made him watch stuff from my past growing up. There was a movie called, this doesn't really have anything to do with music, but there was a movie called Angel Dusted that came on whenever I was a kid. It came on NBC. And finally, Warner Brothers put it out on one of those buy on demand. They won't make them unless you request it type of deals. The Warner Archive Collection or something like that. But I was like, Angel Dust to come out. Like they put it out on DVD. Steve, we gotta watch this. And he watched it and he said, I never want to see that again. But anyway, it has the woman that help me out here, Candice. Otherwise I would know her name, but played Edith on All in the Family.
Her name is
Candice is forgetting too.
Jean.
Yeah.
Jean. Oh my gosh, Jean Stapleton.
Yes, exactly.
Jean Stapleton.
Thank you. I was just drawing a blank. But it stars Jean Stapleton, and it stars her real life son, John Putch, as playing her son in the movie, who smokes a angel dusted lace joint and loses his mind. It is supposed to be based on a real story. There was a book written by the real mother of this boy who did this while he was in college, and they about never got him straightened up. He was in and out of mental hospitals and everything.
Gosh.
It was really, and Jean Stapleton and John Putch were both very, very good in this. She was not Edith Bunker in this. She was a distraught mother who just did not know what was going on with her son, and she didn't know how to help him.
When you see her inside that row, it's odd.
What you do with those cough drops?
I put them up in the cabinet with all the other medicine. We got a dang drugstore up in that cabinet. But I try to keep the stuff off of the countertop, and by putting all the stuff it's not really a medicine cabinet, it's just a cabinet or kitchen. But Russell says Pink Panther films were funny. They definitely were. I haven't seen a Pink Panther film in a while, but yes, they were definitely funny. Raquel Welch with the whip and the topless rowers in the Magic Christian. Yeah, that was one of many crazy scenes in that movie. Russell says, do you know what Jodie Foster's second film is? I'm trying to figure out what her...
When she was young, she did these...
I know she was in Taxi Driver. She was in
a show I like called, I think, Candlewick. Was it called Candlewick?
She was in The Little Girl That Lives Down the Lane as well.
seen those movies? I think they were like Disney movies. Candlewick Manor, maybe.
That sounds familiar.
I'm
but
probably
I don't
way
know.
off, but she was a little kid in those. I like that movie really a lot. I can't remember what it's called though.
And she was in Freaky Friday as
Yeah,
well
yeah.
when she was a kid, the original Freaky Friday. So I don't know what her second film was, Russell, but probably Freaky Friday was pretty far up there for her because she was just a kid on Freaky Friday.
So out of talking about like concerts and stuff like that, and I know you've been to a lot of concerts like I have.
I've been to
What are some of your most memorable concerts?
Well, the Elton John concert was
Definitely.
memorable, and Paul McCartney, which we've
Mhm.
already talked about. Rod Stewart was memorable for me. That man, I'm telling you, even though this was a few years back, that man still got it. He can
Now,
still
my mom
move
would
on
like
this.
that.
Yeah.
She would like to sing Rod Stewart.
Ooh, yeah, she would like that. Now, my mom says that Rod Stewart's one of the ugliest men she's ever seen in her life. He's not. Rod Stewart, the way he carries himself is what makes him sexy. Okay, to
I don't
me,
think my mom thinks he's sexy, but she loves his music, so do I. And if you
and
think he is, that's totally fine.
the way he presents himself is to me,
He's got that suave.
exactly, yeah, suave. He just kind of takes you in, and then if you watch him on stage, even at the older age he was, I never
Yeah.
got to see Rod Stewart in concert when he was younger, but he was out there giving it his all, and he was dancing around and hopping around and throwing beach balls out into the
Oh, yeah. That's how like the Rolling
beach
Stones
balls
were.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, as old as they were really giving it their all.
And Steve took me for my birthday to I think it was at the River Bend. Maybe it was not the River Bend Music Center. I don't know, but he took me to a concert that Cheap Trick,
Joan
uh,
Jett,
Cheap
and
Trick, Joan
Hart.
Jett, and Heart.
I went to the same one.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. Was you at the one that was out on the lawn where you just kind of had to sit out
Yeah.
in the grass? So y'all were probably there when we were there, and
We went to one, I think this was in North Carolina.
oh, okay. So I think we went to Ohio,
And
maybe.
we were late getting there, so we missed Cheap Chicken as we was going in. Joan Jett was just closing, so we actually just got to see Hart.
Got to see. Her.
But Hart was amazing. And
I
Nancy
kind of laugh
Wilson are
at what
awesome.
Chris said. He said my high school health teacher senior year looked like Rod Stewart. How come it says male or female? Crater your teacher. Oh, and then it's even funnier when he says female. Oh man.
Oh,
I could tell you some stories about high school gym teachers. My freshman gym teacher, and I hated gym. I hated
yeah, I did too. I hated it.
absolutely hated it. And I only had to take 1 year of it my freshman year of high school, and then I was done. That because I'm the most uncoordinated person you will ever meet in your life. I was always the person that was picked last when they would have the most popular people pick teams. Yeah, this guy was the last one picked.
Yeah.
Russell says I loved Rod Stewart and the Faces with
Mhm,
Ron.
the Faces, yeah.
Yeah, the Faces, definitely. I was trying to think of another concert where I was just now. Some of these Steve did not want to go to, but he took me to because I wanted to go. Jackson Brown was another one that I went to that I really, really enjoyed. Are you into Jackson Brown's music, Candice, at
My
all?
nephew. What did my nephew walked in? What?
Jackson Brown.
Yeah, my brother loves Jackson Brown, Doctor My Eyes, and
Yeah.
what is the one that's probably my favorite? It's got to be somebody's baby,
Yeah.
It's all mine. That was in what's it called?
Past times and
Fast
recon
Times. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I just that was an amazing concert because
It's cool you got to see him. Yeah, that's awesome.
it was cool that we got to see him, and also I had not really been to a concert where they allowed you. We didn't rush the stage, but towards the end of the concert, they allowed people to get up out of their seats and
Oh,
go closer to the stage.
cool. I've been to ones that's done that. Anthrax concert we were at. You kind of could do that kind of thing at, and I thought that was pretty cool. Sorry
And
about the dogs and stuff next door.
oh well, what Sammy's barking now, so y'all can probably hear that too. John Waite is another one that
Oh, I would love to see John White in
me
concert.
and
That's
Steve
cool.
went to a very small venue in Indiana to see John Waite. And I'm trying to remember the guy that opened for him, and I cannot remember who it was now, but he wasn't bad either. But John Waite is somebody that I have loved for a long
Yeah.
time. Loved his music for a
Did you
very
like
long.
Bad English?
I like Bad English. I like
Mhm.
the Babies.
Yeah, I like the Babies, but Bad English was probably my introduction to John, like actual, because I knew his solo stuff, but I didn't realize they were the same person until I
Right.
was a little bit older. I was like, "Oh, that's John White in Bad English." So, I really like Bad English.
And that was such a small venue that it was like, even though we were a few rows back, the venue was so small that I could see John Waite's face and stuff like that. I wasn't having to look at a monitor to be, I wasn't in the
Yeah,
nosebleed section. It was close and it was personal. And John Waite really interacted with the
yeah,
audience and stuff. And it was very, very nice. And they had some technical difficulties with some of the equipment, but he was just like, we're going to push through. We're going, I think the microphones weren't working or something there for a little bit.
hmm,
And he just did some acoustic stuff, and it was
oh,
it
that's
was
cool.
fantastic.
I,
Yeah.
I tell you, I've seen a lot of people I never in my life ever thought that I would ever get to see, like Ozzy and um, AC/DC. That was an amazing concert. Um, I don't know. I've seen so many. Oh, Metallica. That was absolutely just a dream come true. I was like almost a front row almost. Um, just getting to see people that I never thought I would. Judas Priest is one of my favorite bands, and I had seen them previously, but getting to take Noah because that's his favorite band of all time was by far just one of the greatest experiences ever. Just seeing his face when he got to see him, and just how amazing it was for him to be able to see somebody that he loved in concert. That was a whole new level for me. Judas Priest is amazing anyway, especially live, but
Hmm.
getting to take your child to see that, it's like it's a whole new level. You're like, what in the world? Like I'm experiencing this whole it's different, getting to experience that. But he's wanting to see ACDC, he's wanting to see Metallica. Hopefully one of these days we can take him. But he's really into Kiss, and Kiss has quit. They've retired.
Yeah.
I finally got to see them before they retired, which
I wish I'd gotten to see him, but
yeah,
this is one of those groups that I would probably have a hard time getting Steve to go to anyway.
I love
I
Kiss
wanted to
is my
see
favorite
Alice
band.
Cooper as well, and Steve
Oh,
was
I
like,
love Alice
he's
Cooper.
like, I don't want to go see Alice Cooper now.
Every time we've seen Alice Cooper in concert, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. First time I ever seen him, he opened up for the Rolling Stones, and it wasn't a full stage show. Second show I went to was with Chris, and it was the first time I ever seen him do his full stage show. And then I seen him do another full stage show, and it was totally different than the first one that he did. It's kind of had the same elements, but it was different, and it was just he just put so much into those stage shows.
Oh yeah, that's
The
why I can't
head,
understand why Steve doesn't want to go and see that.
the guillotine and stuff. That's just I
Yeah.
love it. I think it's awesome. But
Well, do you need to go out, girl? I'm not going to take myself out. I'm just going to step over here. Do you want to go out, girl, or not?
But yeah, my musical taste is so weird. It's all over the place. Like Harry Belafonte, I have one of the biggest Harry Belafonte like record collections ever. I love him so much. Probably because of Beetlejuice, but I think I love that type of music. I love that I like Desi Arnaz. I love that type of music.
Right.
Cuban type,
Yeah, that kind of music is fun to me.
Yeah.
It's dance music,
Yeah, I love it. But I have a broad love for a lot of things.
Mhm.
But Youngblood really took me by surprise. Um,
Yeah,
you
we gotta
know,
get to Youngblood. We gotta talk about him.
he's such a talented musician and artist. I just think that he's a breath of fresh air when it comes to newer music.
Hmm.
You really can't put him in a box whenever it comes to music.
No, you
Um,
cannot nail that guy down to any one
yeah,
genre of music.
he's got it coming from all different sides, but I really and he loves music. So he's a fan of music and different types of music too, and you can really tell that whenever he's talking about his love for music, and you can hear that in his music. And one musician that we didn't talk about, which when I think of Youngblood, because he really loves this artist, David Bowie. I absolutely love David Bowie,
David
and
Bowie, very creative man, unfortunately, who is no longer with us
yeah,
anymore as well. But yeah, very innovative, very unique. And, I was talking about I Want to Break Free, the Queen
hmm
song.
yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I, well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't I Want to Break Free. What was
Best
the
friend,
song?
or the ones it's Under Pressure.
Under Pressure. Yeah, I
Mhm.
absolutely love that song. I love the way Freddie Mercury and David Bowie just play off each other
Yeah.
in that song.
And Led Zepp is one of the greatest bands of all time, and AC/DC, you know,
AC/DC.
and
I
ZZ
have
Top.
that gold album, the Who Made Who
Oh,
album.
yeah.
I
AC/DC is one of my favorite bands of all time. I absolutely love them. Love Bon Scott. I love, Brian Johnson as well. Love them both. But Bon Scott, I just his air was
now
amazing.
Brian Johnson, he was like a special guest and came on at the beginning of somebody's concert me and Steve saw several years back. I want to say it was a Billy Joel concert.
Really? See, that's somebody I've never got to see. I love Billy Joe.
Yeah, that was one of the first concerts I saw after me and Steve got married.
Yeah.
Was I said I'm going to get us tickets to see Billy Joe. He came to Louisville to the Yum Center, I believe, and
I remember you got to go to that. I was so jealous. I want to go to see Billy Joe. Something
yeah,
was going on. I couldn't go to it, but I was glad that you got to go. Because I
it was a
absolutely
lot of
love
fun.
Billy Joe. I love him. I think that he's just an amazing artist. Um, but yeah, I love AC/DC. That concert was really awesome. It was right after Malcolm had passed away, though.
Uh,
I think their nephew was filling in for on bass, but Angus Young, he just never loses it. I'm telling you, it's so fun watching him. I absolutely love AC/DC. They're my top 10 favorite bands of all time. And so is Led Zeppelin. I love Led Zeppelin. I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan. And I don't know, there's just so many awesome artists like ZZ Top. They're one of the most unique bands.
yeah,
Their music
I
is
love
so different.
ZZ Top. And
That was one of my
can
dad's
I
favorites.
tell a little personal story about ZZ Top here? The song "Rough Boy." I don't know how I miss singing or listening to that song over the years. But when Steve and I were dating, he sent me a bunch of clips. I wish I could show those on here, but it would get flagged because the ZZ Top song is in the background. But anyway, Steve sent me a bunch of clips of him doing a Friday the 13th special thing where he talked about all the Friday the 13th movies for his friend Jeff. And he was just messing around with the video camera. He said, "Well, I got some film left." And he was like flexing his muscles and doing, getting down on his knee and doing these poses and stuff. And Rough Boy was playing in the background by
Yeah.
ZZ Top. And I was like, if I wasn't already in love with Steve, I fell in love with him now because there was something about the combination of him just playing around and being kind of silly and
Yeah.
that song playing in the background. So now every time I hear Rough Boy, I associate it with Steve and I
Yeah.
associate it with my love for Steve. So just a little personal story I wanted to throw in there. But I didn't mean to talk over Candace.
Oh, you wasn't talking over me. Don't worry about that. No, I love ZZ Top. You know, that's what my dad mainly listened to growing up was ZZ Top. He loved them, and I got to see them twice live, and I loved them both times. I got to see them, and it just Afterburner and Recycler. Those are my two favorite albums. I love Eliminator and other albums as well, but those two albums really, I don't know. I think they're really prevalent to me, at least, in their career. I love them both. I don't know which one I like the best. So if somebody says, "What's your favorite, ZZ Top album?" I say, "I don't know. It's either Recycler or Afterburner." I love them both. And
Afterburner I like a lot.
yeah,
I mean, I think Afterburner has Rough Boy on it,
I
doesn't
think
it?
it's Afterburner. Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably have to be my favorite, probably
Mhm.
because of that song. But I love the other songs that are on there as well. Too.
And if you're a huge, Back to the Future fan like I am, you would know that they were in part 3 in
Right.
the dance scene in the Wild West. They're the one that's playing. I think it's Double Back that they're playing a version of, like a Western version of, which at the end of the movie, Double Back is played.
Mhm.
So I love ZZ Top. I've always loved ZZ Top. I think that their music was so different. Like my favorite song by them is called "Planet of Women."
Oh yeah, that's a fun one.
I love it.
I
Uh,
like uh, I like Sleeping Bag
Sleep.
and
I used to think they were saying Super Soaker 69. I don't know why, but growing up, I always thought that's what they were saying until I got
and
older.
I'm sorry if this offends people, but I like I Woke Up with Wood as
Woke up with
well.
wood, pearl
Yeah,
necklace, which is something. Don't look it up.
yeah,
It's
please
not
don't
about a
look
pearl
that up.
necklace. And me and my brother talk about this all the time because we always talk with ZZ Top. ZZ Top is the only band that can sing about TV dinners and burgers. I'm your burger man. TV
Yeah,
dinners. I love that song. Eating blue chicken and they're the only band that can sing stuff like that and it'd be awesome. But going back to sleeping bag, I remember telling Chris that story. Yeah, I thought that because it's saying slip inside my sleeping bag,
right.
which is awesome lyrics. It rolls off the tongue. But he thought that was so funny. And he said, "Yeah, I kind of thought that they were saying Super Soaker 69. I don't know why. I thought that's what they were saying. You kid, you don't know what
Now, I
they're
may
saying."
have asked Candace about this before, but did you know the video for Sleeping Bag has Heather Langenkamp in it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was watching that, I thought I
Yeah.
want to watch the video for her. I said, "Dang, that's Heather Langenkamp in
Yeah. I believe me and Chris watched that not long ago. I don't think he knew it. I think that
it."
was me and Chris. It's been a while back. I remember I'd have to ask him. I'm not sure, but somebody didn't know. It was my brother or Chris, but I love ZZ Top. I don't know. And I love Tom Petty. Tom Petty is one of my favorite bands. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah,
Um, I love Tom Petty.
me
And
too.
if you're a
Even
scientist,
though Candace can't watch that one video without freaking
oh, let's not discuss that, Dana. Let's not. I can't listen to the song.
you
If
can't
I
even
hear the
listen to the
song,
song
no,
either.
that's
Okay.
that's the whole different story. Don't come around here no more. Is what it's called.
Yeah. I
Um,
should tease Candace about that.
no, it's okay. That video scarred me as a kid. I don't know. You just have to watch the video. I was a little kid, and I remember it coming on. I was so scared. I went and ran. But I had just watched a disturbing rendition of Alice in Wonderland. So that video come on at nighttime. It used to be a thing called Night Tracks that used to come on TV, and I was so scared because that Alice in Wonderland that I watched with these creepy, caterpillar, and it was weird.
Yeah.
It's like a live action thing. Um, and that came on, and they're like, she turns into cake, and they're eating her, and it was like, it just made me sick. So the song, which my dad always listened to, my mom and dad would always listen to, when it would come on, I would secretly like start getting sick, and it's so weird and stuff. But that has followed me into adulthood. I just don't even want to deal with it. So I'm like, forget that.
But despite that, Candace loves Tom Petty.
I love Tom Petty. I absolutely love Tom Petty. He's one of my favorite bands of all time. When I'm an artist, I do art. And when I'm into my art, I have certain playlists I listen to. And the bands that I listen to are, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Fleetwood Mac, which is another band that's one of my favorite
Oh
bands.
my gosh, I love
Cinnamon
Fleetwood
Concert, Fleetwood Mac, Tom Petty, the Eagles, stuff like it's got bands like that. The Cars, which is another band that I really love. I don't know. I'm into, as you get older, you start getting into more, I guess, slower type music and stuff like that. And I'm really into, I love yacht rock. I've always loved what they call yacht rock now. I didn't think that was a term back then, but like, Christopher Cross,
Mhm.
Billy
Oh,
Ocean. I
yeah.
absolutely love to the ends of this earth, Lionel Richie. I was
I
always a
love Lionel
Commodore.
Richie too.
I've
Yeah.
always been a Commodores fan, but I love Lionel Richie's solo stuff. I love the Commodores. Huge Commodores fan. And I really appreciate Lionel Richie's solo stuff. And he was so, like, some of his stuff, he even has like roots in country, and I just love it. I think it's wonderful. And I love country. I love some country. I love the older stuff. I'm into, the Hank Williams Sr. and the George Jones and people like that, like the old Waylon Jennings. And
Oh
I
yeah.
like the older stuff. I wouldn't say country music is my favorite, but I love country rock, like the Eagles and people like
Yeah,
that. So,
me too. I was never really a huge like hardcore country fan, but
yeah, I love Alabama.
I like Kenny Rogers.
I like Kenny Rogers, Loretta Lynn,
Loretta
people like
Lynn, I like Loretta Lynn too because
I love her.
Loretta Lynn was a tough
She
lady.
was, and I love Coal Miner's Daughter. I think Sissy Spacek's portrayal of Loretta Lynn is phenomenal. I think
I think so too. Yeah.
Sissy Spacek in general does not get, just like Kathy Bates, does not get enough recognition. I think the two of
No,
the
she does
greatest
not.
actresses of all time. I think that they go above and beyond, um, you know, acting. People do. I don't. You don't hear people say, "Oh, I love Sissy Spacek." You don't hear a lot of people say that.
No.
But she's phenomenal. She did a great job and she sang the songs just like Beverly D'Angelo portrayed Patsy Cline's
Patsy
part in that
Cline.
movie. It was her voice as well.
Yeah.
But Sissy Spacek sounded just like Loretta Lynn. I think
Oh,
she did
spot
fantastic.
on. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I love Coal Miner's Daughter. I can
Mhm.
watch that
Oh
anytime.
yeah.
I actually got the Blu-ray of Coal Miner's
Oh
Daughter
really?
as a gift a few
And
years back.
and that's our roots as well. That's where we're from. We're from that, from Kentucky, like Loretta Lynn. Her home place is just maybe an hour away from where it's actually where Chris lives or where he's from. I've never been to it, but I would like to.
I see that Russell said Tom Petty's in the Great Wide Open video with Johnny Depp is great.
Oh yeah, I love that video. Yeah, love the
And
song.
TJ's in here. Hey TJ, he says, "Hey y'all, speaking
Hey,
of Lionel, he said, did you watch the We Are the World documentary?
I've
What
not
you think of
seen
the
it
song?"
yet. I've not seen it yet,
I
but
have not seen it yet either.
I like the song. I have the record, but my brother is a huge World fan. Even loved the remake that they did for
Mhm.
Haiti, I think.
Right.
Pretty sure it's Haiti. Had like Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, and stuff like that. But my brother really loves the We Are the World. Um, I think it's a great song. It's got a lot of great artists, Michael Jackson and Kenny Rogers is in that one, right? Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, I know Cindy Lauper is, and probably Kenny Rogers too. There were a ton of people.
Oh
But
yeah.
do you know? Does everybody know that song kind of has a connection with Joe Bob?
Oh really?
And the connection is Joe Bob actually got in trouble for doing a parody of We Are the World called We Are the Weird.
I didn't know.
And yeah, so he got in a little bit of trouble because that wasn't kosher with people, even in the 80s, back in the mid 80s when he.
I remember reading that, TJ.
I did not know that. I
Yeah, he
didn't
just
know that
walked
about
out.
Waylon Jennings. Okay.
They had him there, and he just walked out.
I'm not sure what Steve is doing. I'm going to check on Zoe real quick, too.
No, but I remember that was a huge thing back when I was a kid. I forget when they brought that out, probably way before I was old enough to know what it was. But we had the record, the little 45 record of it, and I remember watching the video and stuff like that. But I've never seen the documentary, but um, I would probably be up to watching it though. But no, I don't know. It's a doc when you get a chance. I will. I'm sure my brother would be interested. Like I said, he's a big fan of that. Now, trying to think of what it was called, but Dio, Ronnie James Dio, put something together, Hearing Aid, and they did a song called "We're Stars." Is that what it was called? I don't want to be wrong here. And I'm a huge fan of Ronnie James Dio. Hearing Aid, and it is a charity record released in '86, the year I was born, and it featured the supergroup of 40 heavy metal musicians, and the song was called Stars. And if you've never heard that one, that one's really awesome. I'm trying to think what it was. It was an album that they was raising proceeds, which they raised over $3 million for famine relief in Africa. But yeah, Dio, he's the one that did that. I'm trying to see who all was on it. There were so many people in that. And if you love heavy metal like I do, that was absolutely amazing. Let's see. Trying to see all the people that have you ever heard it, Dana?
Are we still
Stars.
talking? Oh no,
Stars.
I have not.
Just like the USA for Africa.
Uh-huh.
It's the heavy metal version. It's called the band was called Hearing Aid, and it was made by Ronnie James Dio. And the people that was like the lead vocals was Ronnie James Dio, Rob Halford of Judas Priest, Kevin DeBurrell from Quiet Riot, Eric Bloom from the Blue Oyster Cult, let's see, Jeff Tate from Queensryche, Don Dawkins from Dawkins.
Oh wow!
Just a ton of people. You just have to go see who all.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
But that one, I mean, I know like some of the Motley Crue was involved in it. But it's awesome, really, really awesome. I always love that one. But a lot of people you talk to don't know about it. They're like, I've never heard that. I was like, yeah, it's I always love the song. So, yeah.
I was going to ask Candice, this is going back a little bit further than what we've been talking about, but Candice likes a variety of music. But what do you think of Sam Cooke?
I love Sam Cooke. I love that kind of music. I love Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, people like that. I love old R&B and soul, and I'm really into all that stuff. That's something that that I really think is pinnacle of good music.
And
now, Sam Cooke was great.
One of the big Sam Cooke songs for me is "Bring It On Home to Me."
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that song. I like a lot of Sam Cooke stuff, but that's like the pinnacle song for me with him. But I'm like Candice. I like that old school R&B.
I love it.
And I know we can't stay on here all night, and we've been on here over a couple of hours already. And I don't know when Candice needs to get off of here.
I'm gonna make some Frito pie tonight. if anybody's ever had Frito pie.
So if Candace is game for it and she can, if 8:30, good for you, Candace?
Yeah, around there, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Or
I'm
we
getting
or we could
messages.
stop a little bit earlier if something comes up. And Russell says Waylon Jennings gave up his seat on the Buddy Holly crash to the Big Bopper.
Yeah.
Yes, I had heard that because he was sick and always thought it was his fault. But that's survivor's guilt is
hmm
what that is.
I think Aerosmith had given up theirs, if I'm thinking correctly, to Leonard Skinner.
They did because I can't remember what the name of this. It was kind of a low budget type of movie that essentially centered really on the plane crash that was so devastating to Leonard Skinner. And I wish I'd never watched it, gang,
Mhm.
because it wasn't that it wasn't a well-made movie. It was. And that's where I knew about the Aerosmith thing, that they gave up that airplane and Leonard Skinner got it. And because that was horrendous. The
Yeah.
people that lived, there was one guy in particular, I'm forgetting who it was, saw one of the co-pilot, he saw decapitated, he saw
Mm,
bodies hanging from trees, and it was just, yeah. If you come across that movie, like I said, I can't remember the name of it now, be very wary of it. It's not, again, it's not that it's not a well-made movie, but it disturbed me for days
yeah.
after because I knew it was a horrendous plane crash. I just guess I didn't know some
Yeah.
of the specifics behind it.
Now,
Uh,
Buddy Holly is another person that I really love.
I
I
love
was
Buddy.
always a Buddy Holly fan. And I think that, he could have made a lot more.
Richie Valens that also
Richie
died in that
Valens,
plane
yeah.
crash. I love Richie Valens.
Yeah, that was a very sad thing, and La Bamba, I guess you've seen it with Lou
Oh
Diamond
my
Phillips, but
gosh, bunches of times.
that's a really sad movie, really, really sad. Talking about, like, sad document, like Selena, I don't know if you were ever a Selena fan, but I grew up loving her.
No, yeah, I
Um,
didn't gravitate towards Selena, but that was bad. That
yeah,
was really,
that
really
was a terrible, just just the whole situation of that was just really, really awful. Somebody that's supposed to love you, that you're supposed to trust, and they do you the way that they do you, especially in the height of your career, and just take your life from you. That's just terrible, absolutely horrible. But all these things, like the death of John Lennon, that was so, so unnecessary,
yeah.
so unnecessary. And, there's been so many musicians, and not just musicians, but actresses and actors, and these people that are just, it's fruitless, the reason why they do stuff to
Mhm.
these people. And, I think that's why the world was so shocked by John Lennon's death,
Yeah.
you know. And I think the world kinda learned how John Lennon died during a football game.
Yeah, Howard Cosell
Mhm.
announced that, who was a commentator
And
for
that's just it's
sports.
and I can just imagine the shock that it brought everybody. They're like, "What?
Yeah, and
What?"
some people didn't find out until the next day,
Mhm.
um, because I guess they weren't up watching a football game or
Yeah,
no, um,
it's crazy.
and I was watching something recently, because of course, we just, had another anniversary of John Lennon's death on
Yeah.
December 8th, and they were talking to the doctor or the surgeon who worked on John Lennon when he was,
I've
this guy was
seen, yeah.
much, much younger. You watched it too. Um,
Maybe the same thing, but I've seen something of, talking with the people who
and
were
he
were
was
talking.
talking about that night and describing it and describing that they were going back and forth. One of the guys that was working on John Lennon with this surgeon said, "Hey, that looks like John Lennon." And
Yeah,
the surgeon said, "No, that can't be John Lennon." This shows you how shocking and just out there, the fact that this happened. And they actually looked at his wallet and there were pictures of Sean and Yoko in there, and his ID was in there, and they were like, and then another doctor came in and said that is John Lennon. He told them so.
I always get so depressed during that time, and, my dad died right after. My dad died on the 11th of December, and John Lennon died on the 8th, so I already had a hard time during that because I love John Lennon. I mean, it's the truth, and I always would get melancholy during that time, but then you put my dad's death right after it there, and this year was really hard. During that time. I mean, I know Dana knows that. Because I think you said you even get kind of depressed during that time.
I do, and I used to. People are going to probably think this is weird. Candice probably won't, but some people might think it's weird. I used to burn a candle and play the Imagine album.
Yeah, which I think's amazing. I think's amazing. And talking about this kind of thing, the hardest celebrity death that I ever took was Chris Cornell's. And that's some music that I've not touched on. Some of my second favorite band of all time is Alice in Chains. I love Alice in Chains. I think Lane Staley is one of the greatest vocalists of all time. I love grunge. I love alternative music. Soundgarden. I love Soundgarden. I love Chris Cornell. My favorite thing that he was in was Audio Slave, which is a reincarnation of Rage Against the Machines with Chris Cornell on vocals. And I thought Chris Cornell was one of the greatest vocalists of all time. I love Pearl Jam, bands like that, Nirvana. But Chris Cornell, I was in love with him. He's my biggest celebrity crush as a teenager. I loved Audio Slave, and I just loved Chris Cornell. And when he passed away, that was so hard for me in 2017. And I remember I went into a 3-month depression. And, I hate to talk about mental health, but mental health is something to talk about, and that's totally fine to talk about that.
Right.
But I really took it hard. Really took it hard. And people were saying, he's a celebrity. You don't even know him.
Right.
That kind of goes back to John Lennon. It doesn't matter. It's okay to, grieve over people that you've never met. It's okay to have that you have a love for somebody that you've never met. Chris Cornell played a huge role in my life. John Lennon has played a huge role in my life. George Harrison, musicians play a huge role in my life because they got me through a lot of stuff, a lot of tough, heavy stuff. Same with Dana. I know that it is.
Yeah.
So it's okay. And I'm just here to tell, because I know a lot of people probably felt the way that I feel. Like at first you're like, because people want to shame you for that. It's okay to grieve those deaths. And I know it's kind of getting heavy, but some people need to hear that it's okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to feel that way.
It's not abnormal in any way.
No, it's not. And you're not the only one that does that. You're not the only one that grieves people. That shows that you have a love for people, that you have empathy, for people. Ozzy is going to be a hard one for me. I love Ozzy Osbourne. I'm a huge Ozzy fan. I think that he's the bee's knees, to me. So, he's older. He's not in great health. And that's something I think about. I don't like thinking about it, but, he talks about it. And, I watch him a lot. And when something happens, eventually, if I don't go first, you never know. That one's going to be very hard. I love Heaven and Hell with Ron James Dio. Tony Iommi, I love.
Yeah, exactly.
I got the pleasure of meeting Geezer Butler. I've seen Ozzy in concert, but I've never met him personally. But I got to meet Geezer Butler, and that was a huge one for me because I love Black Sabbath. And he was very nice, quiet, but very nice. So he was actually doing a charity for dogs, for dogs, yeah. So I loved that fact. I was like, that's so cool that he would, donate his time for that. So,
and I just wanted to these aren't like honorable mention. These are big ones for me. But I just want to throw a few names out. Hey, Intellect.
Hey.
Janis Joplin, one of the greatest, most powerful women singers ever, in my opinion. Jimi Hendrix, of course. All these people come from the time period that me and Candace are going to
Yep.
focus on with Waiting on Woodstock. Crosby, Stills, and Nash,
Yeah.
even with Neil
And
Young.
Young.
Yeah, and Young. John Mellencamp.
Oh, yeah. I love John
later.
Cougar. John Cougar Mellencamp, John Mellencamp, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call him.
whatever he's called now.
That was a huge one for me. American Fool, Dana.
Yeah.
That was a record that we played constantly in my house. My mom and dad loved John Mellencamp, and American Fool was a huge one for me. So it's actually in my top probably 10 favorite albums of all time just because of that.
Mamas and the Papas, going back to the 60s time period.
Love them. I
Mama
love you, Mama.
Cass and
I love Mama Cass. She's a huge inspiration for me.
TJ says he hates the Cougar, I guess the John Cougar. That was probably something that the music company probably made him do. Or
I've seen some recent videos of him doing concerts, and it makes me not want to go see him in concert because he gets mad and stuff, kind of pulling out the roses here and there.
Didn't you post something on your
Yeah, I'm like, he's pulling an Axl Rose here. Thankfully, whenever I've seen Axl Rose twice. One with the actual Guns N' Roses, with the actual people from Guns N' Roses, and one which was Guns N' Roses, but it was just him. He was the only original member. And thankfully, he didn't pull none of that stuff whenever I was with him or seeing him,
Right.
But he's got a track record, and I'm like, hey, John Mellencamp, he's pulling those Axl Roses.
Russell says he saw Janice at Woodstock when he was 13.
Oh, that is awesome. Amazing. That's so cool that you even got to go to Woodstock. That's so cool.
And he was old enough where he could remember,
Yeah.
at 13. It wasn't like he was a baby.
Some babies that's there,
Some babies
made there too.
Were born there, or created there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Joe Cocker.
He is.
I love Joe Cocker. I love
Joe Cocker too.
Joe Cocker. Let's see. Rick Springfield.
I love Rick Springfield. I love him.
Success Hasn't Spoiled Me Yet. That's one of my favorite albums by Rick Springfield. REO
Squire. REO Speedwagon. That's my mom's music right there. Is REO. She loves High Infidelity. That was an album that always was spinning. But I asked, what about Billy Squire? You like Billy? I love Billy Squire.
I love Billy Squire, The Stroke.
Yeah. All that stuff, no, that's one I don't know. That's a questionable song.
It is a questionable song, but what's the other one I like? Everybody Wants You. That's
Everybody Wants You. Yeah. In
the
Dark is my favorite.
In the Dark. Yeah.
People hated that video. That's the one where he's dancing on the bed and stuff, right?
I think so. I think you're right.
I'm pretty sure it is. Because I think he got a lot of flack from that. Because I don't know. Because he's like rolling in the dark. Is that what it's called? In the Dark? I know I ain't going crazy.
Yeah,
that's the one. That's the one where he's like rolling around on the bed. Pretty sure.
Eddie Money is another guy that I absolutely love. Eddie Money. Eric Clapton.
Oh, I love Eric Clapton. Yeah, Cream.
Yeah. Even before he was doing this solo work, he was doing incredible stuff. Carly Simon, for a lot of different reasons. She's a strong
okay. Yeah, I love Carole King. I'm a big, because she did a lot for the Monkees.
Yeah, Carole King, I love. Neil Diamond, yes. I'm glad you brought up Neil Diamond.
The Monkees. I love the Monkees.
Judy Collins is somebody that I also like. Joan Baez, I love.
Diamonds and Rust.
Phil Collins, Diamonds and Rust. I
Judas Priest does an amazing cover of Diamonds and Rust. I love it.
I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Yes. But who did you just say?
Phil Collins.
I grew up with Phil Collins. Genesis. I love Genesis. My mom loves Genesis and Phil Collins. And I was talking about him earlier because he was in A Hard Day's Night as a kid. He was
Yep,
in
sure
the
was.
audience,
Mhm.
and, I love Genesis. Genesis was one of those bands from the '80s that really just they were huge,
Yeah,
huge back then, and unfortunately, he's getting to where he can't
yeah.
tour anymore or anything like that, and that's sad, seeing your favorite musicians and
Right.
stuff like that
And I
getting
never got to see Phil Collins in concert, but I
I
did
don't
get to
either.
see Neil Diamond, and
Yeah, another one I'm jealous of.
and for God must have been smiling on me that day or something because I wasn't even planning on going to that Neil Diamond concert. And all of a sudden, I was checking my email at work, and they said, "We've got a few tickets left for the Neil Diamond concert at the Yum Center, and they're discounted. They're not real good seats." And let me tell you something, Candace. And I probably have told Candace this before. The tickets I got was right where Neil Diamond spent most of his time on the stage. So I got to
Really?
see that dude. And my boss at the library in IT, Greg, he said, you had the best seats in the house because that's where Neil Diamond spent all his time.
Yeah,
And Greg
you got
had
lucky.
seats that cost him a pretty penny for
Ooh,
seats. And nope, Neil Diamond spent almost all his time on that side of the stage that was just facing me and Steve.
yeah.
And he did Forever in Blue Jeans. And I was,
Oh.
oh man, I was just waiting for it. I was waiting for the song.
But Dana, I don't know if you would be up to doing another one of these sometime in the
Oh,
future, but I've really enjoyed myself tonight.
I've enjoyed myself too. And I think I think we'll probably, unless Candace wants to bring up a couple more, we'll go ahead and call it a night for tonight because I, I know Candace probably wants to spend some time with her company and
I think people's wanting their Frito pie that I'm making. You ever eaten Frito pie?
I've made Frito pie. It's good.
Yeah,
It's good stuff. And I'm gonna have to like do a few things too, but I have had an awesome time as well.
I have to, yeah.
And I hope that you guys and gals in the chat have had an awesome time tonight with us. It's been a while since me and Candace had a show this length,
Yeah.
I think.
And I was gonna ask, is there any way that you can stay behind that I can talk to you face to face after all this is
Oh,
can you get out of it and let me I mean, after we end is what I'm saying.
right,
I can
right.
just talk to you before we get off of here or whatever. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying? Not
yeah,
like where people can see us, but
right, exactly. Okay. I may have to, I'm trying to think how best to do that.
if it's gonna be a problem, it's all right.
Because once I end the stream, um, it's probably going to take it all,
Well,
it's
that's
going to take
okay.
you
That's
out of
okay.
it and stuff. But I could set up another, I could
No,
set up
it's all
another
right,
stream.
Dana.
You sure?
Yeah, yeah. I can send you a message.
Okay. Okay. Um, oh, thank you, Russell. Russell said, always great here. Loved your talk on music. Well,
Well, thank
we appreciate
you.
that.
Yeah, we've enjoyed it. I know I've really enjoyed it.
But y'all tune in for the watch alongs I got coming up this weekend, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The original 1974 classic, in my opinion, Black Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time is Don't Open Till Christmas. So we're going to have a lot of Christmas horror fun.
I don't think I've
This
seen that one.
Don't Open Till Christmas.
I don't think so.
Well, Candace, if you're free for either one of those, if you want to join me for either one of those, I'd love
I'll
to have
let you
you on.
know.
Or Chris
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
He
But
loves Black Christmas.
well, he might want to join me too. So, but we're going to call it a night here so Candace can get to her Frito pie and spending time with her company. And I want to thank everybody that was in here. I
Mhm.
want to thank everybody that will watch this on the replay. And I also want to thank Candace, as always, for being
Thank
my
you.
lovely co host as we navigated through some of our musical favorites. And me and Candace are off like a couple of dirty shirts. Our shirts ain't dirty, but we're off like some. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And
Mhm.
also, I've been trying to remind people if you've been having some issues with family and or friends this past year, now's the time to extend the olive branch. Now's the time to mend those fences, mend
Yeah.
those bridges, send a kind word. And because, folks, we're not promised a tomorrow. Nobody is. And I would hate for us to miss out on an opportunity of mending those
Yeah.
fences and bridges where they need to be. So anyway, we're out of here, but we'll see everybody next time. Bye,
See you
everybody.
guys.